Hello, this is Bruce Linton from the Fathers Forum, and I'd like to welcome you to a short 3-minute talk I'm going to give on parenting in a pandemic for dads, or it should be in the pandemic for dads. But moms may find this interesting too, but I want to especially approach it from our role as fathers and our influences in the family and children, although much of that is, of course, not separated by gender. So, to begin with, the research around parenting at this time um, and children shows that how we as parents experience what we're going through is conveyed a lot to our children. That's probably true with many of the experiences we have in family life. The parents sort of lead the way with the emotional integration they either have or don't have, and their children either feel frightened or secure, to just put it in more polarizing terms. But so, how you feel as a dad about what's going on is going to have a big influence on your kids. So, this is how, when I say pandemicing for parenting in a pandemic for dads, I'm really talking about what we're working on inside ourselves more than specific techniques with our kids. So let's go through what's important for us to understand as dads and really as men in families. First is the most important thing, which is tolerance for uncertainty. Pandemic or not, family life is always filled with a variety of uncertainties, and our lives are. And, we always maybe know that in a certain way, but it's never been made more real than what we're experiencing now. So, tolerating the uncertainty, how do we do that? How do we do that? It means that in some ways, we have to have a sense that things will work out. And, well, they look pretty bleak at times, and there's a lot of uncertainty about, COVID-19 and all the sheltering in place and washing the hands and wearing our masks. We're doing all the things we can do. So that's one way to approach the uncertainty. Just do the best practices, do what we can do. But there have been throughout history pandemics and plagues and flus and very difficult times where really literally millions of people have died. So this is in a way not something new, but it certainly is new to all of us who've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. So I think what we're saying is keep a sense of perspective. Yes, we're going to get through this. That's the reality. Hopefully, none of you will get ill or sick, but we're going to do the best practices, and that will give your children a sense of hopefulness rather than helplessness. So all the things you can do in that way. And another way to look at that is also to look at showing your children and even your whole family the idea that you can be helpful. That helpful may be anywhere from being a first responder or someone who's helping on the front lines, a doctor, a nurse, healthcare professional, somebody in essential services. It may be somebody delivering groceries, which is certainly essential services. Um, so there's those, and it may just simply be that you wear a mask because you want to make sure other people don't get infected, or that you're just showing your solidarity with everyone. And your children will see this and feel that you are participating in something that's happening all over the world and that we're all in it together. And that feeling is often very comforting. We often underestimate how hard this is on our children. They're not going to school, they're not seeing their friends, not being able to play, go to their activities. They're not able to see their relatives, they're not able to hug people they're used to hugging. And so this is pretty difficult for them. And in some way, both trying to help them out by yourself being a bit hopeful, a bit positive about what will develop, that things will change over time for the better, that we have options in whatever our situation is to work something out. Um, I think they, in some way, excuse me, also have to be seen as part of the heroes who are going through this. This is a huge event. This was like, World War II. This is a global, huge thing that we're all experiencing, and it can't be diminished how profound it is. Another thing to be aware of is because it's somewhat chaotic going out on the outside world, that always sort of creeps into our families. And it's seen in the small ways where we find ourselves more easily frustrated, maybe a little less patient. Sometimes it comes out with our kids, sometimes it comes out with our spouses or partners, where small things we seem to react to in a much more tense way. And know that that's not all of what's happening with you and your family. That's what's happening in the world, and that tension spills over in our families. So, being in this together as a family is also an opportunity to feel a kind of closeness or connection, and use this as something that you'll all remember as a time of bringing you together. I remember when I first started my practice many, many years ago as a psychotherapist, I saw a woman who talked about growing up in the Depression, and that her father took the whole family to Yosemite for 2 years. They lived there. He would go down to Merced and work once a month to buy some of the extra things they needed. Otherwise, he fished, and they lived there and camped. They had to move around from campsite to campsite. But she remembers what a wonderful time it was in her life, even though it was an extremely difficult time in the world. So I am hoping that if you are listening to this, that maybe that will be the one takeaway that you can really put to practice in your life, is that even though this is a troubling and difficult time, there are ways where you may find options to feel closer as a family, to find a chance to be more patient with each other, and go through this challenging, terrible experience together as a family.